December 16th, 1773. The Boston Tea Party. You are there.
Walter Cronkite reporting, December 16th, 1773. Last week, the Russian fleet invaded the Turkish Isle of Stancio. This week in London, there is talk of war with Russia. But here in America, there is only one issue today. What will happen to those 3 shiploads of tea at Griffin's Wharf in Boston? Since the arrival at Boston last month of the first shipment of tea under the new Tax Act, never have the colonies been so united in any one cause. At the great seaports at Charleston, Philadelphia, New York, and Boston, they agreed unanimously not to let the tea land, but today the situation must be resolved. You see, there's a law that the tea must be unloaded within 20 days, or the British fleet can confiscate any vessel for non-payment of duties. And today is the 20th day for these ships. If they don't sail by midnight tonight, the 19-day battle of protest will have been lost. At yesterday's meeting of patriots in Old South Hall in Boston, shipowner Francis Roch of that city was ordered to demand of the Customs House permission to sail. And he finally agreed under considerable protest, and he's to report back to Old South Hall at their meeting this morning. All things are as they were then, except...
You are there.
This is Todd Hunter. So far, there has been no sign of Mr. Roch. No announcement was necessary to bring these people here on this final day of this waiting game. That's what one local paper has called it, and that's what it certainly must seem like to these opponents of the Tea Act. There'll be no waiting after midnight tonight, though. In that circle, incidentally, is Samuel Adams there on the right. He's talking to John Hancock. From the moment word was received here last May that Parliament had placed a 3% tax on tea, the voice of protest has grown. It is generally believed that Adams is the head of the North End Caucus, a Boston branch of that secret organization, the Sons of Liberty. The Sons of Liberty have initiated the anti-tea bill movement, and in fact, they have been the mainspring of every public demonstration against the government in this country. Oh, hold on. We've gotten word that the committee sent to bring Mr. Roch here to the meeting by force if necessary has returned. Mr. Roch at the moment is in a very unenviable position. He can't move his ship unless it's unloaded, and he certainly can't unload it. Either way, he's threatened with serious trouble.
Order! Order! Gentlemen! Gentlemen! Clear the aisles and take their seats, please. Now, Mr. Blow, is Mr. Roch ready with his report?
Yes, he is.
I have it.
Speak up.
I have, under protest, demanded of the Custom House a pass to return my ship to London as directed at my peril by this committee. The Custom House has officially notified me that a clearance could not be granted me until all the dutiable articles were off my ship.
Did you file a protest with the Customs House?
I did not.
Oh, I should like to take this opportunity to remind the good Mr. Roch that before this very group, in this very meeting hall, the good Mr. Roch promised to abide by a resolution adopted by that meeting and return the obnoxious tea to England in the very same bottoms that it arrived in. Now, is this not true, Mr. Roch?
Yes.
You did promise to return the tea to England.
I did?
Yes. Well, is the good Mr. Roch in the habit of making promises that he has no intention of keeping?
Order! In the interim, I have taken the advice of my counsel and found that in case I went on of my own motion to send the ship to sea in the condition she is in, it must inevitably ruin me. Therefore, I must beg you, gentlemen, to consider what I said at that meeting to be unadvised, the effect of compulsion, and in consequence, I am not holden to abide by it.
Is the good Mr. Roch aware of a resolution adopted unanimously by this group stating that any person who assists in any way with the landing of this tea is to be considered an enemy of his country? Then are we to assume that you openly and willfully place yourself in this class?
Gentlemen, I'm not a stranger in this town. There isn't one man in this hall today who hasn't known me for years. If there's any doubt of my loyalty to my country...
We can only go by your actions, Mr. Roch.
That's right.
I can't sail my ship without a pass. You all know that very well. The whole British fleet is out there guarding the entrance to the harbor. They're just waiting for me to try to sail. You want me deliberately to send my captain and my crew out to be sunk and killed?
No. For the rescue. for the record, and mind you, just for the record, I should like to ask the good Mr. Roch if it is his captain and his crew that he's worried about, or is it perhaps more of a question of his losing his property?
Order, please. Is there one man here who would look forward to seeing himself bankrupt? I sometimes forget to act with caution, but I want to do what's right. I don't want to harm my country. But will my country benefit if my ship is sunk? Or will John Hancock benefit? That gentleman is out of order. Is it not true that John Hancock is also a ship owner? Is it true that he's in direct competition with me? Step forward, this young man is... I charge John Hancock with instigating this movement for reason of personal gain. Change!
Let the gentleman continue speaking.
I thank the gentleman for the opportunity to express myself. My lawyer informs me that I am... My lawyer informs me that I am liable for what I say here. I'll take that risk. You see, I'm a little confused by this sudden and violent hatred of tea. I understand that His Majesty's motive in passing the Tea Act was to save his East India Company from bankruptcy. I am also aware that Britain will receive considerable revenue from the new tax. But the fact remains, gentlemen, under the new act, tea will be threepence a pound cheaper to the American consumer. Not higher, but cheaper. Is that not to the advantage of the American consumer?
Do you think preference is enough to overcome all the patriotism of an American?
I should like to ask the gentleman, whom we all know to be a merchant in this town, the same question put to me a moment ago. Is it patriotism the gentleman is worried about? Or is it the fact that he will no longer be able to make a profit on the tea he has been smuggling in from Holland? I beg the gentlemen of this meeting, please, to understand me. I am not saying that they have no patriotism. I am merely charging that their patriotism has been misguided. I have as much love for my country as any man in this room. But I firmly believe that Sam Adams and his mob rule are as dangerous to our country as any kind of tyranny the British are capable of.
I don't think you should have said that about our man.
Do we fight one kind of tyranny with another? You, Mr. Warren.
Leave Warren alone.
Did you not speak up at the merchants' meeting last year and speak out against Sam Adams and his Sons of Liberty? Did we not all admit how tired we are of politics? True. This country has never seen such a wave of prosperity as we are now in. Do we risk losing it all simply because Sam Adams wants control of the Whig Party? Can't you see what he's done? He's played upon your emotions. He's used this Tea Act to stir up the city to gain political control. I say, the Sons of Liberty have no right to issue warrants for arrest, to be allowed to run wild, tarring and feathering people by their own rules of justice. Out of order! Out of order!
Mr. Chairman!
The chair recognizes Mr. John Hancock.
I should like to take a moment of this meeting's time to perhaps clarify for the young gentleman a few issues involved here, and to urge the Assembly to try to understand that the young gentleman, being only 23, should be excused for his quick and ill-advised tongue. It is true, Mr. Roch, that unlike most revolutions where the people rise against a real economic oppression, in our case here in Boston, we are fighting for purely an abstract principle. It is, however, not nearly so abstract as the young gentleman supposes. The issue involved here is one of monopoly. Today, the British government will monopolize the sale of tea in our country. Tomorrow, it will be something else. I think it doesn't take a great deal of far-sightedness to see how aptly this scheme will serve to completely destroy the trade of the colonies. The language of this Revenue Act is that we can have no property we can call our own, that we are the vassals, the livestock of Great Britain, and if we touch one grain of this accursed tea, we are undone. We must oppose with our lives this parliamentary taxation now, this critical moment. For if we allow ourselves to be taxed again, arbitrarily without our own consent, there is no hope for any of us.
I'm not in favor of the monopoly, but I say fight it legally. Fight it through the proper channels in the proper way. In London, they think of us as savage convicts. I beg you, gentlemen, let's not prove to them by our actions that they're right.
The gentleman says legally, properly. Perhaps we should send the king a gentle note on Lacehead Station. I fear the young man is perhaps younger than I thought. Apparently, he's unaware of the kind of governor we now have in power. Is it possible that Mr. Roch has not seen the newspapers lately? Could he have failed to notice the letters found and published between our most honored governor and the king? Is it possible that a man living in Boston today is unaware of the fact that our governor, elected by us, is being paid by His Majesty the King? Really, Mr. Roch, I strongly suggest that you not devote your entire energies to making your fortune. But if you intend to speak before adults in the future, it might be far wiser for you to have some small knowledge of your subject. Isn't it strange, my young friend, that by a singular infelicity, all the gentlemen selected to be agents for the tax under the monopoly are relatives to His Honor the Governor, except one, who is by coincidence one of the governor's strongest supporters?
Is that what's bothering you, Mr. Hancock? The fact that you weren't made a consignee? Didn't you make enough money smuggling in English writing paper during the recent boycott of English goods? Really, to you, Mr. Hancock, you own practically the whole town of Boston. I should think that would be enough for one man.
I say burn Boston and make John Hancock a beggar, if the public good requires it.
Well spoken, The chair recognizes Mr. Samuel Adams.
In my considered opinion, Mr. Roch has been given more than ample time to express himself. And since time is of the essence, I now move that Mr. Roch be seriously ordered upon his peril to give immediate orders to the captain of his ship to get that ship ready for sea today before midnight. I further move,
I lose my ship.
May I have your attention, Mr. Roch? This concerns you.
Sir?
Thank you. I further move that Mr. Roch enter an immediate protest against the Customs House and then proceed directly with the utmost expediency to the governor and demand, I say demand, a pass for his ship to clear the castle.
Aye. All opposed? Nay. The motion is carried.
We have received word that a steady stream of men have been seen coming and going from the Eads and Gill print shop. This is said to be the meeting place of the Sons of Liberty. Harlow Wilcox has been standing by. Let's see if he has anything to report.
This is Harlow Wilcox. Here inside the Eads and Gill print shop, some members of the Sons of Liberty have gathered for what appears to be a secret purpose.
Oh, Mr. Adams.
Gentlemen,
Is there any news, Mr. Adams?
not as yet, but we're expecting word momentarily.
Has the meeting finished?
Roch is on his way to the governor now.
Did he get a
Seeking
pass?
a permit to pass.
Did he get a pass yet, sir?
Not as yet, sir. Momentarily. Gentlemen.
Are we going through with it?
There's nothing else we can do.
We have to make the men aware of the real danger involved.
I think they're all aware of it. Who are we trying to deceive with these ridiculous disguises? Every man here can be identified in a second.
Nobody's being forced to go there. These men know exactly what they're doing.
If there were any other way to prevent the tea from being landed, but there isn't. We're in too deep now. In every other town, the organization has forced the consignees to resign. We're the only ones who have failed. We're rapidly becoming the laughingstock of the whole country. Making ultimatums every day and then being forced to back down. I tell you, we must venture in this. One bold, decisive action, or we're undone.
I agree.
Just wait till I get my hands on that ship. We ought to burn them off. Every ship in the harbor.
Now, young gentlemen. You know the orders. Nothing, absolutely nothing but the tea is to be touched. There's to be no personal damage of any sort. No fighting, no riots, no chaos, and no noise.
I know.
You know the signal?
This meeting can do nothing more to save our country.
That's correct. Gentlemen, you all will remain here until the proper moment. Mr. Pitts, of course, is the commander-in-chief, and every man is expected and required to obey him in every respect. Understood?
Yes, sir.
I do hereby solemnly affirm in the sight of God that I shall not discover any of the preceding transactions to any person outside of this room at any time, as long as I may live. So help me God. May God be with you, gentlemen, to remind you of the seriousness of your mission.
Thank you.
The entire course of action for the Sons of Liberty seems to rest with Governor Hutchinson's decision. That's all I have to report here.
This is Clete Roberts inside Governor Hutchinson's office. Mr. Francis Roch, looking older than his 23 years, has just arrived.
Good day, Mr. Roch. Won't you be seated?
Thank you, sir.
I understand you have a request to make.
Sir, I am here under strong protest.
Protest?
But ordered at my peril, I do hereby request a permit to sail my ship past the castle.
You request, then, that the tea be returned?
Under protest.
Do you request it?
Sir, I wish to insist at my peril I was ordered to do so.
Ah, then you would rather the tea be landed here.
Ordered at my peril, I do hereby request a permit to sail my ship past the castle.
You seem to be a perfectly reasonable young man. Certainly a young man that has risen to such a position as you have in so short a time must... Mr. Roch, will you haul your ship out into the stream and secretly land your cargo at another point?
I see the governor would prefer the ill will of the people directed at me, rather than at himself.
I'm offering protection to yourself and your property, sir. Do you accept that offer? One moment before you reply. You must fully realize that should you refuse, it is very likely that I could be instrumental in seeing that you never get another cargo, if you have a ship. Now, sir, do you accept my offer?
Ordered at my peril, I do hereby request a permit to sail my ship past the castle.
Your request is not granted, on the grounds that it would be a direct countenancing and encouraging of the violation of the Acts of Trade. Yes, there is a statement you may give to the Assembly. Good day, Mr. Roch.
And now back to Todd Hunter at Old South Hall.
This is Todd Hunter. We are back in Old South Hall. It is now after dark, and the men gathered here are still awaiting the return of Mr. Roch, who is long overdue.
Gentlemen, seeing that this meeting was called for the express purpose of hearing a report from Mr. Roch, and noting, we'll take this up at another time, Mr. Wheeler, and noting further that we still have no word from Mr. Roch, I contend that waiting is hardly a solution to our problems. Therefore, do I hear a motion that this meeting be adjourned?
I so move, Mr. Chairman. Gentlemen, I beg of you, give me your attention for a moment. Gentlemen, it is imperative that I have your attention.
Will you please, gentlemen, reconsider your votes and wait for Mr. Roch's return?
I'm sorry, I've been here till...
Don't you understand?
Here is Mr. Roch now. Gentlemen, please sit down. Take your place.
Mr. Roch.
Order, gentlemen, order. Do you have your report from the governor?
The governor has answered.
Proceed.
He is willing to grant anything consistent with the laws and his duty to the king.
Gentlemen.
But he cannot give a pass until the ship is properly qualified from the custom house.
Order. Under the present circumstances, will you then deliver your ship back to England along with the tea?
I cannot possibly do it.
Then will you land the tea, sir?
I have repeatedly informed the consignees that the tea I contracted to deliver is at Griffin's Wharf. I have no further business with the tea.
If you are directed by the consignees to land the tea, then will you land it, sir?
If you were ordered to land it, will you land the tea and become an enemy of your country?
Will you then land the tea, sir?
Gentlemen, if I am properly called upon to do so, I shall attempt a compliance for my own security.
Gentlemen, please. This meeting can do nothing more to save our country.
By the time they reached the wharf, the people were content to stand by in silence and watch the Indians work. It was so quiet one could hear the heavy breathing of the men breaking the chests. No one interfered with them, no person was harmed, no tea was allowed to be carried away. So careful were they not to destroy or injure private property that they even replaced a padlock they had broken. There was no confusion, no riot. The deed was not that of a lawless mob, but the deliberate and well-considered act of intelligent as well as determined men. Within 3 hours, the Mohawks had emptied into the bay the contents of 342 chests of tea, and then when the job was done, the people went home and the town was quiet, completely quiet as though nothing had happened. Later, the ships of Francis Roch were cleared and allowed to sail. Yes, the town of Boston was quiet, completely quiet that night, as quiet as if nothing at all had happened. But a new nation had been born. What sort of a day was it? A day like all days, filled with those events that alter and illuminate our times. And you were there.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to help us produce more compelling historical content like this, please Please like, comment below, and share this video with fellow history buffs. And of course, be sure to subscribe to help keep history happening.